Was there a moment early on where you realized how much impact your purchasing principles could have? Yes, very, very early on. And that's the reason that we realized we should do this, that this space needs people to have some kind of filter for the people that want to do the right thing, but don't necessarily know the right words to look for or don't have the capacity to do as deep of homework as we're able to.
Just putting the message out there that there are alternatives to everyday products that do less harm to the environment.
Yeah. I think one of the earliest moments we realized there was a huge there was huge potential for impact was when I was doing my internship in Boston. I got to use this platform to look into industry and looked specifically into retail as an industry. And this platform was looking at their corporate governance, their environmental impact, and their social impact. And retail was one of the most lowest performing industries across all industries. And then within that industry, there were the companies that were performing the lowest within that low performing industry were companies that were doing very well selling the look and the feel of an intentional lifestyle. So that showed that one, retail needed some work. And two, that look and that feel was marketable and profitable, and people wanted to do that, or they wanted to at least live in that world. And we thought if we could create some parameters around that and actually back that up, then we could be filling a need. And that showed us,
That's where our purchasing principles came from.
yeah, our purchasing principles have been baked in from the very, very beginning. We've all seen the power of business and the power of industry and what it can do on the negative side. That means it has equal power to do that on the positive side. But that means we have to do it with a very new mindset, and we chose to create parameters for ourselves to harness the power of business, but use it in a different and needed way. We all share business. I mean, it's the one thing that makes the whole world go around is the dollar or the value of the dollar. It's what moves things forward or what keeps things from moving forward. So our
Supply and demand.
exactly. That is our whole goal is to drive demand so that the supply follows. And that means being on taking a bet on new things and being the pioneers in that way so that other people can be pioneers in that way. Because when you support those decisions, it drives down the cost for the next person to do it as well, which overall, eventually, and we've seen that in 15 years, the cost of purchasing sustainably on the whole has gone down. So not to our only credit, but to enough people saying, I'm
We
going to
want
put
more
my
of it.
dollar
Yeah.
where I want to see growth, and I'm going to withhold my dollar from where I don't want to see growth. And we just noticed that we could do that on a bigger platform and not only help ourselves do that better, but help the people that obviously want to do that more easily and more fun.
Sure.
Yeah,
That's fantastic.
there's something there. Human
Yeah.
sustainability is living in a way, conducting ourselves in a way on this planet so that our species continue living here.
Well, I think I love the definition of our responsibility is to ensure that the next generation has what they need to meet their needs.
Yes.
That is true sustainability.
Yes. And not
Of
just yes, and not just that generation, but all future
future
generations.
I agree.
Yeah, the goal is not to become extinct on the planet. The goal is to continue being able to live on planet Earth. And we know that people are going to gift out of this innate human desire to connect. If we know that, then we can help provide the better options to do that. It's even more thoughtful when thought has been put into the way the product is made. That I feel like that compounds over time.
I heard somebody say that one of the great things about gifting is the road to the gift, the thought process of what is it that they would enjoy, what is it that would mean something to them, what is it that would have lasting value to them, and then the search for the gift, and then the presentation of the gift. So there's a long road to gifting. I love that. I think that is true.
And we get to even be kind of an invisible part of that, which is really fun. Like we think about that too. We think about people that we don't know yet, but people coming in looking for very, very specific gifts. And we try really hard to find those unique things that would be so unusual and so fitting for a very specific circumstance.
And that would last,
And
that would
that would,
stand the test of time.
yeah,
I think the products that we have evolved over time because sustainability has come into focus. So there are so many wonderful products out there to choose from now that we're not there, 14 years ago, or people weren't promoting the fact that they were made close to our home and made of sustainable pieces and stuff. So I think that just the opportunity of products has changed over tremendously over 14 years.
certainly. Experience has shown us different parts of the life cycle of a product that we didn't know to consider from the very beginning. So, we wrote the business plan with these same purchasing principles in mind, but we didn't necessarily know how they would show up or how we would be able to evaluate them really until those first packages started arriving. Where our experience, we say this jokingly, but there's some validity
I know
to that.
what
We
you're
dropped a lot. Like it truly is a skill. I mean, we love it. It's a passion. We find it interesting. Again, we like seeing people's creativity and
the search.
yeah, the search. We've always loved it, but it is very different than sourcing products in bulk for your store because they don't arrive all pretty and packaged. They arrive in cardboard boxes with all sorts of packing material that you didn't expect. That's something we really learned to start considering and asking about because a lot of times in a wholesale catalog or online or however you're buying from the wholesaler, sometimes the product will be represented just on its own without its packaging. So we started learning to ask about how it's going to be packaged, shelf stable packaged, and then also how it's going to be shipped, because those are two different areas that are they're hard to be sustainable on both. Sometimes there is a very, very sustainable product. Like for example, at market, we found this awesome soap. It met all the check boxes. It was made in the US. All the ingredients were super clean, handmade. Those are all qualifiers. But it was triple wrapped in plastic, like cellophane, and it was in a plastic box. And while that may not totally disqualify it, it was enough for us to say, this is where we use supply and demand. We're going to show that the demand is there without being unreasonable with the timeline that it takes to get there. So in those situations, we'll say something like, "We love your product. It smells amazing. It's beautiful. Super, super. It's a great fit." Whenever you're able to move towards a more sustainable packaging option, please let us know because we would absolutely love to have it in our store. So phrasing it like that, it took a long time to figure out how to do that, but it celebrates and supports those decisions and then also creates the demand for the next step. We don't want to be unreasonable or have unrealistic expectations of how fast that can happen because for supply chains, they already have those packaged, they already have those supplies. But when you place that demand or you ask those questions and you give that information, then at the point where they're able to make a different decision, they have new data to make a different decision. So whenever their supplies run out, maybe they'll consider a cardboard packaging option. And if enough people do that over time, that's how behavior changes. And we have absolutely seen that in the last 15 years.
For sure.
So yeah,
Good.
yeah, that's one thing we started realizing was important. So from the very beginning, our purchasing principles have been built around the idea that there is no perfectly sustainable product, right? The absence of a product is the most sustainable thing. But if people are going to gift and consume out of just the human innateness, they're going to be purchasing. So we look at basically the life cycle of a product, what it's made of, how it's made, the end of life, who it impacts, and we support at least one of those qualifiers. So our products meet at least one of our purchasing principles, if not more. Usually they meet more than one, but nothing's perfect. And we try to be super loud about that and clear about that. But the more we support those decisions, the easier it is for more people to produce that way, supply and demand, and the more the cost drops for everybody.
Boomski.
Yeah. And ideally, from the very beginning, we have to remind ourselves about this. Like sometimes when
I know what you're going to
you know what
say.
I'm gonna say, yeah.
I get
When other
excited.
brands start being sustainably, we can be like, "Ugh, that's our thing." Nope, nope. From the very beginning, our goal has been to push sustainability and regeneration across the board. as an industry. We want to, that is our ultimate goal. Ideally, eventually, sustainability is not our edge. We don't want that to be our competitive edge. We want eventually everyone to be purchasing that way so that our competitive edge or our differentiation is on your experience or whatever that is.
And we've seen that shift too. I mean, when we started, sustainability was, we had our purchasing principles, but it was secondary to having a super cool,
Yeah,
unique store.
yes,
I mean, we didn't lead with this is we're on a sustainable platform.
right.
We led with
Sustainability should be a
shop
bonus.
with us because it's fun and we like this stuff.
Right,
And now it's all meshed together.
right. I didn't mean experience isn't valuable right now. But yeah,
I was like, whoa,
no,
hang on a
that's
second.
not even. But I mean, ideally, that we don't want that to be what makes us different. Right now it is, but we want you to walk in and not realize everything has a sustainable component or a positive impact. Because another part of our mission is to show that the design world and retail really has stepped up to the challenge of producing responsibly, and it's not what we tend to think of. It's not always newspaper bags or paperclip earrings, which they that there's still a market for that. But design really has evolved so far in the last several years and stepped up to that challenge that you really can't tell if things are
Exactly.
made responsibly. And a lot of times you can now assume that it was made responsibly because of how detailed and how careful and how thoughtful it feels and looks. So usually when something is more sustainably made, you can sense that and it adds value to it. But not always. That's why we're here.
That's why it's tricky.
Yeah.